Welcome back to Beyond the Scarlet Moon, where the souls of the damned whisper their tales, and the darkness never sleeps. Tonight, we unravel the tragic and terrifying tale of Sadako Yamamura, the vengeful spirit whose wrath transcends time, lingering through cursed videotapes and shattered minds. But before we descend into the depths of her horror, we must first step further back in time, into a legend that may have sown the seeds of Sadako's existence, an ancient Japanese ghost story that has terrified generations. Long before Sadako's tale emerged, Japan was haunted by the tragic story of Okiku, a servant girl whose fate became legend. She worked in Himeji Castle, a beautiful yet ominous stronghold in feudal Japan. Loyal and kind-hearted, Okiku served a ruthless samurai who became obsessed with her. When she rejected his advances, he devised a cruel punishment. He accused her of losing one of 10 priceless plates, an offense punishable by death. In despair, Okiku counted the plates again and again, but the missing one never appeared. The samurai offered her a choice: become his lover or die. When she refused, he cast her into a deep well, drowning her in darkness. In the summer of 1946, Shizuko Yamamura retrieved a statuette of an oceanic deity, In no Ozunu, from the ocean's depths with the help of her childhood friend, Genji. The discovery marked the beginning of something unnatural. Soon after, Shizuko began exhibiting psychic powers, visions of things yet to come, whispers of thoughts not her own. But the gift came with a price. The following year, against the warnings of those closest to her, she traveled to Tokyo. The moment she arrived, a searing migraine overtook her, sending her collapsing to the ground. It was not sickness. It was a consequence of the power now dwelling within her. While recovering in the hospital, she met Dr. Hayakiro Ikuma, a professor of psychiatry. Ikuma, fascinated by her abilities, saw more than just a woman. He saw an anomaly, a mystery to be unraveled. But fascination soon turned into something deeper. Love, obsession. It was difficult to say which took hold of him first. When she conceived his child, the scandal threatened to ruin him. To protect him, she fled back to her hometown on Oshima Island. On October 31st, 1947, she gave birth to a daughter, Sadako. Unable to raise her herself, she handed the infant to her own mother before returning to Ikuma's side. Years passed. In 1950, when Sadako turned 3, Shizuko came back for her. They left Oshima without a trace, vanishing into the unknown for 5 years. In that time, Shizuko bore another child, a boy, but fate was cruel. He succumbed to illness after only 4 months. Grief clung to her like a second skin, and Sadako, already strange, grew even more withdrawn. She was isolated, socially awkward, and yet undeniably powerful. At an ESP demonstration hosted by Dr. Ikuma, Shizuko was meant to prove her abilities to the world. Instead, she was branded a fraud when she abruptly ended the event, overcome with illness. The humiliation was unbearable. Ikuma, distancing himself from the disgrace, divorced her. The betrayal shattered her. Desperate to escape the press, Sadako suggested they return to Oshima. But before the year was over, the weight of despair consumed Shizuko. She threw herself into the fiery depths of Mount Mahara, leaving Sadako truly alone. She was sent to live at Yamamura Villa under the care of her uncle, Takashi. At the age of 11, she made her first terrifying prophecy, the eruption of Mount Mahara. When it came true, the world dismissed it as coincidence, but she knew better. She had inherited more than just her mother's gifts. She had inherited her curse. Knowing what she could become, Ikuma made a fateful decision. At 19, he sent Sadako to Tokyo, where she joined the Hisho acting troupe. It was meant to give her a life of normalcy, a place where she could disappear among ordinary people. But Sadako was never meant to be ordinary. Even there, her presence warped reality. A single recording, an accident, an anomaly, became a vessel of death. A cursed sound, an imprint of something malignant. 5 of her colleagues, including the troupe's director, died of heart failure, their faces twisted in terror. Among them was Toyama, the troupe sound manager. He and Sadako had shared something, love perhaps. But love is fragile, and secrets run deep. When an envious troupe member exposed an intimate recording of them, Sadako fled. She never returned. In the summer of 1966, her father, Dr. Ikuma, grew ill with tuberculosis. He had tried and failed to gain psychic powers of his own. As his body withered, Sadako visited him often at the sanatorium. But even in a place meant for healing, horror found her. A young doctor, Nagao Jitaru, watched over Ikuma. He was drawn to Sadako, not by love, but by something darker. One day, he attacked her, violating her in the cruelest way. But what he found was not what he expected. Though she appeared female, she possessed external testes due to testicular feminization syndrome, a secret she had kept hidden her entire life. Enraged and humiliated, he strangled her and disposed of her body in a nearby well, thinking the nightmare was over. But another version of the story exists. Some say it was not Nagao who killed her, but Dr. Ikuma himself. Fearful of what she had become, of what she could still become, he ended her life before she could spiral further into darkness. Whether it was the act of a desperate man or the ultimate betrayal, the outcome remained the same. Sadako fell. She clawed at the walls as she plummeted, her nails splintering against the stone. But she did not die immediately. For days, perhaps weeks, she lingered in the blackness, suffering, her hatred growing with each passing moment. When death finally came, it did not bring peace. She had become something else entirely. Sadako's fury did not fade into legend like Okiku's. Her consciousness latched on a modern technology, feeding off the energy of screens, signals, and most famously, a videotape. This seemingly ordinary tape bore her wrath. Those who watched it saw cryptic, nightmarish images. A well, Shizuko combing her hair, shadows moving unnaturally, and then Sadako, emerging from the darkness, and then nothing. But it was never truly over. The moment the tape ended, the curse began. Within 7 days, the viewer would die, their body twisted in agony, their face frozen in sheer terror. There was no escape, unless the curse was passed on. The tape had to be copied and shown to another. Only then could one be freed, while another took their place in the cycle of horror. The curse spread like wildfire, feeding on fear, growing stronger with each passing victim. Sadako's vengeance had no end. Death was no longer the final chapter. It was only the beginning. Though separated by centuries, the stories of Okiku and Sadako share chilling parallels. Both were women wronged, cast into darkness, their deaths unjust, their souls forever trapped in sorrow and vengeance. Okiku's spirit haunted the well, doomed to count to 9 for eternity. Sadako, in contrast, refused to stay bound to her prison. She found a way to spread her curse, to make the world remember her pain. One ghost mourned, the other sought revenge. Sadako's tale is not merely fiction. Even now, urban legends persist about cursed recordings, haunted videos that echo her legend. Technology evolves, but fear remains the same. And who knows, perhaps even now, Sadako lingers, waiting for the next screen to flicker, the next tape to play, the next victim to stare too long into the darkness. And so let me ask you, have you ever truly looked into your screen? Are you alone right now? Or is something looking back? Thank you for listening to Beyond the Scarlet Moon. If you enjoyed this tale of terror, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more unsettling legends and forgotten horrors. And remember, some stories refuse to stay buried. Until next time, sleep well.